Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Career Coach podcast. Today, we have another amazing guest on the show, and this show is all about uncovering tips and tools from young professionals in their late 20s and their early 30s that can help college students get insights, get experience, get knowledge that can give them guidance along their career journey. I really struggled to get this kind of information when I was in college. I went to Yale, I worked on Wall Street. And now my passion is to help students be successful. And so this show is all about extracting value, extracting insights, and sharing them with you. So grab pen and paper and take notes, and feel free to get in touch with us afterwards. Enjoy the show. Wick, welcome to the show. Great to have you on board with us.
Great to be here, and Aaron. Really great to reconnect with you. It's awesome.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to a conversation. I mean, the last time we saw each other or spoke was in 2015 in Cape Town.
Yeah, and that was right after my freshman year. Yeah, I went out to Cape Town, and I remember it so clearly. Just now, rounding up to 10 years ago, 9 years ago, and I just must say that in those years of my life, the sort of teenage years and the college years, that month in Cape Town might have been the best month of my life. So I have to say that, it's really, really formative for me and kind of set me on the path that I'm on. And so it's really great to kind of circle back to it after all these years.
Yeah, that's amazing to hear. I hear that from a lot of students. I mean, we've had about 4,000 students do our program, and it's always so interesting when I speak to alumni and I ask them, what is one of your favorite memories? And they usually say that trip to Cape Town, just meeting students from from other schools and getting to explore such an epic city. And I believe a lot in travel. I think when I was in college, I tried to travel as much as possible, and it really opened my mind to different countries and cultures and all kinds of things. So I definitely encourage everyone to do that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big world. The more you understand of it, the better. The more you experience of it, the better. Especially while you're
Yeah,
young and can enjoy it. So
absolutely. So, Wick, today we're going to dive into your career in finance. We're going to try and uncover the different decisions you made that got you to where you are so that college students who are trying to figure out their roadmap in finance can learn from you and what you've done. So, I think a good starting point is just to give an overview of where you're working today and how you got there. That's always a really nice starting point, and then we can build off of that and uncover the intricacies of the journey.
sure. So I work for a purely tech M&A, technology mergers and acquisitions, investment banking company that's based in Austria. It started off as a bit of a venture capital and an incubator, and then they kind of transitioned to M&A. I work for the U.S. team, which is a growing team. It's about 10 folks at the moment, and we're based in San Francisco because all the tech stuff, obviously, is mostly still out there. I'm in New York, and it's basically a slightly different um, form of investment banking or business model than your typical investment bank. Basically, what we do is we look at a bunch of startups and pick a few that we believe in, that we think are going to be successful, and we partner up with them. We get on their boards, and it's basically a two-part process. We get on their boards, and we help grow the company with business development, um, and then we help sell the company. And the idea is that business development leads to corporate development. It's likely that the company that wants to have a partnership with this client of ours or do business with this client of ours might say, hey, you know what? Actually, maybe we should just buy this thing. And so that's kind of the pitch, is that business development leads to corporate development. And so it's kind of the first half is growing the company. We're paid a retainer to do that, and we're on their boards of these companies. And then the second half is a tech M&A process, whereby we, your typical investment banking process, and sell the company to either a strategic or a private equity investor. What the good thing about that model does is, first of all, is that there's, I think, a lot of truth to that thesis, but it circumvents the whole process where you're kind of competing with other investment banks. So there's no bake-offs or anything like that. It's we've been with the company since day one, and we're there when it's over. Yeah, it's great. It's great for me because I am building my finance skill set. I'm also building a skill set, and and deck building and all the rest of that. So it's kind of, and I love tech, and so it's for me right here right now. It's the right job, and I think that gives me some peace.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like such a great job, and I'm always so interested in the process of growing and selling businesses. I mean, when I think about the world that I live in, my current, uh, you know, career is basically starting companies, building companies, buying companies, and selling companies. That's kind of like what I want to be doing with my life.
Yeah,
So I find that
same.
process, super interesting because there's just so many different types of opportunities, but like really at the core of it is a financial engineering skill set because you're trying to understand, how the finances of a company work, how the business works, and how you can like leverage the different opportunities to get the best possible exits. So I'm quite interested for college students who are thinking about going into a career in finance, maybe an M&A, which I think is a really interesting route to go. What does your like day to day look like, and what do you think is the a good skill set that you use or could have if you want to really excel in this kind of a career path?
So day to day is, there's different steps of the process. So there's first step of the process is figuring out what we call them clusters, what industries, categories of company would be interested in buying the company that we're representing, and then specifically breaking down that into a long list of companies, and then breaking that into specific people at those companies, and then it's an outreach process. So that process is kind of like a sales process, and then it's soliciting a LOI, and then it's NDA discussions, and ultimately you're selling the company and to a large company. And so for each step of the process, the day to day is different. Um, but yeah, I mean it's you know typical financial modeling, valuation type of work. It's building decks to represent the company. Um, it's reaching out and having a lot of conversations with potential investors. Um, I think for me, it's good because I'm not super pigeonholed in one of these things. I get exposure to all of them.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I didn't really understand what investment banking or people in finance really did on a day to day basis when I was in college. I didn't understand that whole like kind of a sales process skill set that you have to have where you're building relationships with clients, you're pitching them on ideas, you've got to be good at like how do you position this company, and that is like kind of on top of all the financial modeling skill sets that you have to have. So it's quite a nice, complete type of day to day job, where you're stuck in the details, but you're also out there building relationships and looking for opportunities.
Yeah, and I do think it's a great place to start your career because it depends what your interests are. But for me, for my interests, I'm getting exposure to startups. I'm learning how to build them and grow them, and of course, I'm understanding how they work and their intricacies and how they make money, and who wants to buy them and how to sell them to those people. And so, if my end goal, I feel like I'm just getting started, but if my end goal is to start a company, I think this is a terrific experience to learn a lot about doing that before I am in a position to go do that. Or if my
Yeah.
end goal is to be an investor, this gives me all the skill sets to move to a more investing role, whether that be venture capital, private equity. That path is available to me, or if I want to go work for a company that I'm really interested in,
Mm.
I have all the skill sets to do that, to just go work for a startup.
Yeah.
And so I think my career path is realistically going to be one of those things, and this kind of, or stay where I am. Frankly, it's a great place. Stay where I am, and this opens up all those runways. So,
Yeah.
and your
Yeah.
original question about what skill skill that I wish I had, or that and
Mm.
that's important for college students to be privy of. They don't teach in school, and I'm sure you heard it 100 times, but everyone's got to be good at financial modeling, Excel, and valuation, all that stuff. And tough. They don't teach it at school. Even finance classes, they teach the theory. They don't teach what you have to do on a day-to-day basis. And then on the other side, the employers want you. They don't want to hire somebody who's not trained because then they have to train you. And so there's this huge mismatch.
Mm.
I think I experienced is probably trying to fill that gap or help with that gap in a lot of ways. Um, and so you have to kind of learn it on your own, or you have to find a place that would hire you if you don't know it yet, and build it up. And yeah, so that to answer your original question, that's
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I
that's
think
key.
my journey was interesting because I studied engineering and I thought I wanted to be an engineer, and then I realized I actually wanted to go into finance, and I started trying to learn like finance skills. I bought a book at the bookstore called How to Get a Job on Wall Street, but like I didn't really understand like what it was about and how to do it. And that was kind of one of the original concepts of IX was like teach someone who knows nothing a whole set of skills in a specific field, in this case, investment banking, by someone who's actually done investment banking that can be like really good at teaching it, and then help those students understand these different things, financial modeling, Excel, put them in the boot camp and then have them apply those skills in an internship directly afterwards so that, you can walk away and be like, I actually understand what this job is and I know how to do it and I can go get a job. So that's always been the vision of IX is bridging that gap. And it's kind of something I wish I had when I was in school, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and that's why I think X is such a cool company, and I love following its success and seeing where it will continue to grow because there's a
Great.
growth.
So I'd love to unpack your journey to how you got to where you are. So maybe you can talk a little bit about, what you studied and how you got your first internship, um, and just like moving through the challenges in your career path that you came across in the beginning.
Yeah, so I definitely faced challenges at the beginning, and I think in hindsight's 2020. But now that I'm at the place where I want to be, I can look back and say, "Oh, that was good for me. All that built me and made me tougher." And um, yeah, so I was a straight A student my entire life, always a type A kind of kid, and I was doing these kinds of internships in high school. I was always a serious little. My mom always joked I was a little businessman out of the womb, and I was used to being kind of getting everything I wanted because I was a straight A student. So I hadn't really faced adversity before. And my first internship in college was at a private equity firm that I had gotten through my own networking, through my own family connections, and I think that set me on the path that I'm on now. That summer, I worked half the summer I worked at this private equity firm out in Silicon Valley, and the other half I did iExperience, and I think that was the best summer of my life. And I think that definitely put me on the path that I'm on now. And I think I sort of over the course of my undergraduate years, I had a slew of wonderful uh, internships. I worked for WeWork in the corporate finance team. I worked for two different private equity venture capital firms. Um, I did iExperience. I did a thing at the London School of Economics. I studied abroad in China and studied the Chinese economy. I sort of filled every square inch of my summer free time doing as many of these kinds of experiences or internships as I could. And then as I approached my senior year, after all these different experiences that I'd had, I sort of decided that I wanted to do investment banking after college, and that in my head that was the be all end all, and that was key to whatever I wanted to do. And I was definitely caught in that trap of I have to get this or it's all over. Um, and I went to school, University of Virginia, which is an amazing school. And the undergraduate business program at UVA is second to none. It's always ranked top 2 or 3 in the country. And that program is a machine towards getting kids these internships and these jobs. Now, I was not in that program. I was a liberal arts student. And so I found myself in a situation where, despite having all these internships, despite being more focused on this kind of things for years before anyone else was, having a tough time competing with the business school kids towards getting these jobs. And so that was kind of that was the first challenge, I guess. And as I said, I never faced adversity before, and it was tough. It's a really tough thing to do, and I felt in my own head I had to have this or it's over. If I would look back at my however old I am, 21-year-old self, I'd say take a deep breath and relax. Life is really, really, really long. Careers are really, really, really long, and you have nothing to worry about. That's the first thing I would say. In terms of what decisions I made, I basically networked like a maniac. I sent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of emails out, hundreds of calls, interviews left, right, and center. I mean, you have to treat getting a job like it's a job because it's difficult to do. So you have to treat every day, wake up like 9 to 5, you're sending out applications, you're arranging conversations. So I did that, and I got myself a job at a firm called Brewer Attorneys and Counselors, which is a part law firm, part consulting firm. And it was not the job that I wanted. So basically, I graduated college and got a job, but it was not the job that I wanted. So again, like, first time in my life, not getting what I wanted, basically. And I was not happy there. And I was stressed trying to figure out how to get out of there and get it to this other job. And granted, it was an amazing job, but it just wasn't what I wanted. And then COVID happened, so that made it all even more complicated. I lost that job, and I was out of work, hanging out in Florida for 6 months with COVID happening, which allowed me the time to. It allowed me to reset. I think for people who are in college when that happened, you kind of missed out on your college experience, or if you're having kids, all kinds of issues. But for me, it was like I was right between college and I hadn't gotten really serious yet with my career. It allowed me to take a little break, take a deep breath, and then have a fresh start and dive back in. And so I luckily got a job at a bank in the midst of all that called City National Bank, which is the bank that does all the financing for Hollywood and the entertainment industry, which is an industry I'm particularly interested in and would like to work in to one degree or another. And so that was a fantastic job. Finally out there. And then I had a really abusive manager. And so I got the job that I wanted, but then I had this terrible, terrible manager, which was another character building experience. And unfortunately, you're going to have to, I think I just learned all these lessons early on. Some people may haven't even learned them yet, but this was an abusive person who was not good at his job and decided that he wanted to kind of make my life miserable and create problems for me. So just when I thought, I'm out of the tunnel, I have another problem to deal with. And I think, I learned how to compartmentalize and deal with that and understand his personality and understand how to make him happy and do the best I could given that situation. And then I was recruited to join Apollo, a part of the Apollo FIG group that was a joint venture between Apollo and the French bank BNP. And what they do is they invested private equity through the Apollo FIG team in supply chain finance programs. So I thought, this is really cool. This boss is driving me crazy. I should go do this. And it was awesome. I was surrounded by some of the smartest folks I've ever been surrounded by, and paid very well. And it was interesting because it was relevant to the supply chain crisis that was going on at the time, and it was basically it's really financially complex to explain exactly what that group did, but basically finance supply chains and put equity in that financing and get a return on that through some complex financial engineering. So I did that for a while. Firm is called Alliant. Amazing experience. And then I sort of thought, okay, this is great, but am I really interested in supply chains? Is that what I'm interested in? No, and it was very niche financial engineering. And I was kind of like, you know what? I like companies. I like startups. I want to understand these companies. I want to sell them. That's why I set out on the course that I set out upon. Um, and I was just applying around on LinkedIn and applied to this company I5. Next thing you know, I got an interview. Next thing you know, I got the job, and that was about a year ago. So I've been there for about a year, and it's as I said, exactly the right job for me right now at this time. Um, and yeah, that's how that's how I went from sort of facing adversity to having
Yeah.
my dream.
Yeah, I think what I love about your story is that it seems like it was very challenging along the way, kind of going
Extremely.
from
Yeah.
such a top quality student, doing so well, and then getting into a job where you're just like, I don't know if this is what I want to do, and then getting another job and it's like even worse, and then being like probably thinking to yourself, I failed, or look at all my friends, they're doing so much better than me, and then just like wondering if you're ever going to figure it out, and then kind of landing up one day in this like great opportunity, being like, wow, this has actually all led me to where I am today, and this is great.
Yeah.
I've kind of experienced quite a lot of that in my career as well, where you feel very overwhelmed to try get something, but you don't even know why you're getting the job. You just get it. And often I've told people that the difference between a great job and not a great job is usually the people or the person who manages you. You might be doing exactly the same job as your friend, and he's like, I love this job, it's the best job ever, and you hate your job. And it's because like your manager is really treating you in a way that doesn't allow you to flourish, doesn't let you grow, etc. So I think one of my big takeaways from listening to your story is it's all very well to get that job, but try to understand the people you're going to work for, and are they
Yeah.
going to invest in your growth? Are they going to support you on your journey? I mean, you're young, you need support, you need good management, you need direction and guidance. You've got a long career ahead of you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if I were to look back on that story, what lessons do I learn? One is take a deep breath because life is long.
Mm.
Careers are long. Everyone in their 20s is bouncing around from one thing to another. Everyone in their 20s has experienced a job they don't like. So the whole concept of you're gonna graduate from this top school on time, and then you're gonna get this job, and that's that. And a lot of these people, they kind of ice skate through life without ever facing adversity, and then they face it and they don't know what to do because they never had to do it before. At the end of the day, they live in a very prosperous country and they went to top schools and they have top trial. And life doesn't always. Life is going to keep dealing you different decks, and so you have to learn how to deal with adversity, and you have to know that when you're 22 years old, you got a lot. You're fine. Okay, you'll figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
You will figure it out. You don't need to worry. It all has to be figured out just right. I have to get exactly this. You can take a deep breath. The other lesson is to be extreme. You can't give up. You have to be extremely persistent. You have to treat getting a job like it's a job. As I said, all day long, sending emails, all
Yeah.
day long,
I think
applications,
that's
tracking all.
yeah, I think that's the difference between people who get really great jobs and people who don't, is this like almost like military approach to like getting a job, where they're like, I'm gonna apply, it's a numbers game. I'm gonna apply
Yeah,
to thousands of jobs and I'm gonna get 20 offers. And then people come to you and they're like, how did you get so many job offers? And you're like, wow, I just like legitimately applied to 20 jobs every single day for like 6 months.
yeah, yeah,
And I know it sounds crazy, but it's like it's something a lot of people don't really understand. I've seen so many people apply to like a couple of jobs, get rejected, and then just give up, and then they don't get
yeah,
a job, and they're like, well, you need to go back there and you need to build a system. You need to have a spreadsheet. You need to track your progress. You need to. It's almost like an athlete training for a big race. They've got to get
yeah,
up and they've got to run, every morning to get the fitness for that race. And it's kind of like that mentality of like discipline that really unlocks a lot of opportunities for you. So I think, I agree with you 100%. If you're listening to this and you're wondering, like, how can I create more luck? How can I create more opportunity? Block out an hour to 2 hours in your calendar every day, treat it like gym, and focus on finding opportunities for yourself. That's really going to make a difference.
Yeah, and also like, a job is better than no job, and so you may not think, oh, this is the job I want, and I can't get it now. Like, okay, all right. Well, what is a job that can put you in that direction that you can get now? And think in your head, okay, this job I'll learn this skill set, and after doing that, I'll be able to get hired by this, and after that, I'll be able to hire. You have to think like that as well, and know that, say your dream is you can't have it now, but if you can do X, Y, and Z, and take something that you can get now, you can get there as well. And so, yeah, a job is better than no job. And then the other lesson I'd say is what you just said a couple of minutes ago, which is that the culture and the team is everything. I have right now an incredible culture, second to none.
Yeah.
Extremely bright, hardworking people, young, entrepreneurial, supportive, fun. We don't mess around. We get our work done and we hit it out of the park. But we also can joke around and be
Yeah.
friends with each other, and get drunk with each other, and have. It's just a very nice group of people,
Mm.
supportive and nice. And then, of course, I've experienced the exact opposite as well. And my happiness is night and day because of that.
Yeah.
So that's something to
Yeah.
to be keep in mind.
Yeah, I think when you're in college, you don't really understand what culture means. Like it's a word that
Yeah,
doesn't really make sense until you've like been inside of a company and experienced what the
and it's so
culture is like.
cliche. The term is used all the time. Culture
Yeah,
this in the
yeah. For me,
interviews and all.
it's really
Feel.
the behaviors that get accepted within a company that leadership accepts, essentially define the culture. So if there's a if treating lower level employees like with disrespect is accepted, then that's part of the culture.
Yeah,
So I think it's always good to do your research on a company into their culture. I mean, you can't do it on a website. You need to speak to somebody who's working there and say, hey, what is it like working there? What is there? Do people help your learning? Do they help with your
and you can get a
development?
vibe. You can get a vibe just talking to the person.
Yeah.
How people act and how people interact with each other. Um, so yeah,
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so I would like to talk a little bit about, recruiting. And I don't know if you are on the recruiting team at R5 or if you've supported other companies in the interview process. But, if you had to give advice to college students on how to prepare for like a banking interview or a finance interview, um, what advice would you give them? And also maybe can you walk through the process that you went through for I5, just so that people who've never done it before can get a bit of an
yeah. Well,
understanding
I've done it at I5, and I've done it
in multiple places.
two
Yeah,
jobs before that, and then I've done it unsuccessfully for a period of time
yeah.
before that. So I definitely know it. I think, let's see. So in terms of how I got my job at I5, I had a resume, and it was always making it better and better and better, and sending it to folks,
Mm.
who had these jobs, people I knew, and it's all online. It's not some secret club of information that you can't figure out. It's all online. What should I put it on investment banking resume? Now you can probably just get ChatGPT to do it, at least as a start. So there's no secrets to that, I don't think. And then networking and setting up calls, and I would send emails. You know, hey, I'm working at this job. I'm interested in opportunities at X Y Z. Um, just would keep it simple. Would love to grab a coffee sometime. Can
Was
we?
that quite
You know,
effective? Like, did that help you? Did people respond to you, and did you get coffees? Would you say networking was quite a
yeah.
big
Oh yeah.
component?
Yes, a lot. And obviously, it's a numbers game too. So you have to understand
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
we
yeah,
actually, I didn't really network at all when I was in college because I was so afraid to like, well, we didn't really have LinkedIn necessarily, but I was just afraid to like talk to people who were older than me and like successful. I don't know why, but now when I think back on it, I was like that, yeah, I should have been more proactive in my networking approach. And I actually created like a small networking program for people who listen to this newsletter that can help teach them how to network, like how to send, like you said, very simple messages and
mhm.
how to have a system that helps you do that. But
Don't overcomplicate the emails or the
yeah,
messages.
yeah,
And I would follow up with them too. hey, hope you've been well since we last spoke. I think we spoke like 6 months ago. This is where I am now, and I see there's this opportunity there. Would love to get your advice on it. Just simple, friendly things like that, and just keep up with everybody and
Mm.
keep track of who you reached out to, when was the last time you reach out to them. And there's no you're going to get ashamed, like, oh, I don't know, should I reach out to this person? I've already emailed them. Ugh. It doesn't matter because you don't know the person anyway. Either it's going to help you or it's going to not. And if it doesn't work, he's not going to even remember you. It doesn't matter. Like, it literally doesn't matter. You have to put that mental thing out of your head,
Yeah,
and just do it. And I think it goes against some instinct of shame or something. Um, you feel like you're being
100%.
rude. You feel like, yeah, and so you have to get over that and just realize that it's completely illogical to feel that way. And what else do I have to say? Yeah,
Well, we
and then I think,
wanted to go into the actual interview process and how to prepare well for
yeah,
that, and what is it even like? You've done a whole bunch of them. Like, what have they been like?
done a lot, quite a lot. I think, I guess I say that it's kind of three parts. One is having the right experience in the background, and nobody, you don't have to have perfect, like what I had interning at a private equity firm when you're 18 years old, or what, or going out
Mm.
experience, um, but you do have to have some substance there. Um, you have to know the company. You have to know all your basic kind of, you know, all the technicals, as they call them. You have to know that stuff.
Well, what are the technicals exactly? Because I'm imagining quite a few people listening to this just don't actually know anything about finance. Might be an
Yeah,
engineer, might be someone studying philosophy, and they're like, "What technicals are you talking about?"
yeah. So, again, it's all online. Just type in investment banking interview technicals, and it's just basic finance questions that show that you understand. You're not an expert, but just understand the basics of the basic terminology, the basic some basic accounting, how to value a company, just to show that you're familiar. You have to just be familiar. You can't go into an interview not knowing anything about investment banking, or
Yeah.
whatever it is that you're interviewing for. Um, and so, all that is rooted in finance and accounting, and so you have to know the basics of that to be able to um, have these conversations. And so you definitely want to do your research on that. There's guides. There's all kinds of guides. Spark Notes, Quizlets,
Yeah.
all it's all on the internet. Um, and you just have to put the time in to kind of memorize it, really understand it. You have to really understand it, and that does take time. Yeah, so you have to know that stuff cold, and understand the business, understand the industry, and know the technical jargon. And then I think this is also, like, so important. You just got to be a normal person, and you got to be able to understand how to connect with people and present yourself in a professional way, and not be all sweaty, and not be all awkward. And Frankly, some people have that, some people don't. Some people have to get better at developing it. But I think that should not be thought of as proportionally less important than technicals, or you know because at the end of the day, they're just, and it's not rocket science. They're looking to hire a dude that they like, that is a smart guy, and they know is going to work hard, and they can sit with next to them,
Yeah.
and it's a real human being. And it is also, like, in the beginning parts of the career, it is technical. You're not really interacting with clients, but at the end of the day, it's completely relationship based,
Mm.
both internally within the organization, and then of course with clients. At the end of the day, it's a relationship business. It's a people person
I
business.
agree.
And I think some of these banks, they want to hire these, like, MIT kids, or these, crazy math GPA, blah blah blah, but they can't interact with people, and then they want that because they think they need to grab it before a tech company does that they're competing with, an Apple. But is that really the right personality? Who's going to be maintaining relationships and getting deals done in 20 years? No, it's not. Um, I'm digressing, but
No, I think I
yeah,
don't think so. I think it's an important thing to note. Like, this. you can understand the technicals, but if you want to really excel in an interview, you need to be seen as someone who's a good connector, someone who's able to build relationships. So how do you show those skills in an interview? One of those is, I think, is being able to ask good questions and being able to listen, to
Yeah.
understand, and not to talk too much about yourself. I mean, obviously in a way that is humble but shows your skill, and those are little things make a difference to the person
Yeah.
who's going, do I actually want to have lunch with this person or not? Those are
Yeah.
some of the things I used to think about when I interviewed people. I was like, they got to be smart, but I want to have lunch with them and enjoy the
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. Or if you're sitting next to the guy at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
with a when it's a crazy deal going on, you better be able to crack a joke.
Yeah.
Um, so that's an important part, and I think some people have it, some people don't. Some people need to develop it, but anybody can get better at it.
Mm.
And yeah, I think that's key.
What do you think were some of the biggest mistakes that you made in college, that you would, or maybe let me rephrase the question. If you could go back and speak to your sort of freshman or sophomore self, what you know now, what would
Yeah.
you tell that person, just to how to approach life maybe slightly differently or college differently, given everything that you've learned between then and now?
Yeah, I mean, I think I knew. I don't think I was like completely in the dark when I was in college about all this stuff. I think for me, I was just so stressed out about it and so focused on getting it right. And so I would tell myself to relax, and just I think I've said this earlier, but I would tell myself to relax, and enjoy those years a little bit more because it does end. In terms of what would I tell myself with the interview stuff and the thought process. I don't know. I think yeah, like all the stuff we've already said. Apply to as many companies as you can.
Yeah.
Um, get as comfortable and good as it as you can. Um, learn how to sell yourself. Um, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking more along the lines of just general advice. Like if I had to think about what I would tell myself, I would be like, you know, don't go to bed at 3 in the morning every day, and try drink coffee and do your homework at that time.
Yeah, I'm not somebody. I have friends, roommates actually behind me, who are capable of doing that. I'm not capable of doing that. You
Mm,
know. So yeah, I mean, you gotta. Some people are capable of partying hard, and working hard. I can do one
yeah,
or the other, so I have to make a
yeah.
choice.
So how do you? I mean, investment banking is stressful. It's long hours. It can be quite draining. How do you deal with that in your life from like a mental health point of view or just general physical health? I think it's quite interesting because I found when I started working on Wall Street at the hedge fund, I didn't have that much time to go to the
Yeah,
gym, and I was
no.
quite tired, and my diet started getting all messed up, and I had to basically reinvent my ability to like look after myself. So I'm just wondering, like, how do you do that now? Like, and what is your process?
So I think you have to know how to compartmentalize. I think in your own head. I think that's a key skill. Um, I think you have to know, like, in terms of how I approach it every day. It's like, okay, what do I need to get done today? And then in what order? What are the priorities? And I know that if I wake up and hammer each of those things out to the best of my ability without missing on details, then I can go to bed at night saying, well, I did my part. Like I did the best I could, and I know that I did. So I just rely, so I think that's important. I think for me, sleep is important. I need a lot of sleep. Um, and I know how to relax when I get worked up, which is I just lay down and close my eyes and kind of meditate and take a deep breath. Um, yeah, I think compartmentalization. I think to-do list for each day is key, um, and priorities. Yeah,
Yeah, I actually think that's interesting because I've tried both techniques, and the first one is like wake up, go to gym, do things to make yourself feel good and then start work. And that was like one technique that kind of worked. But then I changed it where I would just like wake up, have coffee, and I would attack my like most difficult task first. Just be like, okay, I
Mm.
need to get this done. And it was like complicated, and it was like, involved a lot of different types of my brain that I had to use. And I found like when I did that and I got like a big chunk of work done, then I was able to relax, and then other things were easier to do. So it's like an interesting process, that because
I think
then if you,
routine is key.
yeah,
Um, Obviously, working out is helpful, but I mean, I just don't always have time. I love working out; it's a priority of my life, but I mean, I don't always have time to do it. So, but I think routine is really important, and making your bed, you know, eating healthy food,
basics,
and
basics,
basic
yeah,
stuff,
you know,
basics. Because
yeah,
what once you let, and the other thing about it is like once you let one thing, oh, okay, I'm not gonna make my bed today.
mm,
I haven't too rushed, or oh, I'm not gonna do my push-ups today, or whatever the heck it is. Then that becomes literally in your brain, and that your brain's gonna do that exact same thing tomorrow, and then
yeah,
your brain is now gonna be doing that. So it's something every single day, and this is a work in progress for me, but every single day you're building habits. And if you say, okay, today I'm taking it, I'm not going to do it today, that becomes a habit that your brain's going to literally do the exact same
yeah,
thing in the days to come. So
yeah. Actually, yeah.
this is the, yeah.
No, no, I was going to say, I think another piece of advice I probably would have given myself in college was to like develop good habits and be more consistent with those habits, because I didn't really understand the power of habits. And then I read a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear, and he was
Yep.
talking all about like habit stacking and compounding interest of good habits over time. And that like idea just kind of blew my mind. I even built myself like a little habit tracker, and I started doing like little things, like things you wouldn't even think about. I'm like, okay, wake up and drink a glass of water with
Yeah.
lemon and salt, because
Yeah.
that hydrates you, right? Then
Yeah.
sit down and write down your 5 goals for the day. And you have like all these little habits. It takes like an hour, but you do them consistently, and you start to realize like, wow, this is like a powerful kind of formula for getting
It's
things
the key to
done. And
success. It is the key to
yeah, right.
success.
The key to success. But it's like,
Absolutely the key.
people like in
Habits.
college, you imagine you woke up in college and you're like, okay, I need to like apply for 20 jobs. Then I need to practice my interviews for 30 minutes. Then I need to
Yeah.
network for 30 minutes. You do that for
And
90
by the
days.
way, you're a full-time student who's trying to get a good
Yeah.
GPA. That's a lot. And I think the other thing is like I think for me, I went to boarding. I was in this boarding school. It's a strict, busy like my life now. Super regimented, super busy. You're never ever break, and you're bum 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 like army boot camp. And then in college, you like all of a sudden have all this free time, and you kind of have to figure out yourself. And you kind of can easily slip into a lazy routine where you're not using your time. You're not that great with time management, and so that's something you got to get better at when you get back into the real world.
Yeah, 100%. So another interesting question is, your own personal development and growth. I know I listen to a few podcasts and I try to read quite a lot, always looking to learn more. How do you do that in your life? Is there any book that you could recommend, or any podcast that you listen to that you think could help people?
Well, yeah, I love learning new things, um, and I love reading, and I love podcasts. Let's see, what am I? I'm reading. Let's see, I'm somewhere around here. I have it. I think All In is a great podcast. I think you want to have, yeah, you like. I would recommend. It sounds like common sense, but understand what's going on in the world and understand both sides of the political debate. Um, and I think podcasts are a great way to do that because you can work and listen to it at the same time. You can kind of multitask if what you're doing is a little bit mindless. In terms of books, I love the Nassim Taleb books. I think, and see if I have all my books here. Um,
Yeah, you've got a nice, healthy stack of books over there. I've
yeah,
actually found like one of my biggest challenges is like I have too many books I want to read. So like,
yeah, Eric. I'm
what
just
do I
gonna
read first?
part of my sweatpants. Yeah, these are two good ones.
Yeah,
Um,
let's see.
Lean
Okay.
Startup is
Oh,
a
yeah,
good
that's
one.
good. That's a good one.
Um, Everything written by this guy is great. Nassim Taleb is his name, and he's kind of multi. He's a really smart guy, but he's good at thinking, and he is kind of multidisciplinary the way he thinks. I have Peter Thiel's Zero to One, which I think is probably the best book on startups up there.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Called The Happiness Hypothesis, which is actually I think a lot of college kids could read it. Uh, um,
No, that's a really good
yeah, this is a
selection. I
great
think
book. um,
the
and
happiness. What is it called?
The Happiness Hypothesis. It's
Mm.
oh, yeah, my camera's going to twist the letters around. The Happiness Hypothesis by Jonathan Haidt. It is a really good book on understanding how the brain works and how to be happy and what kinds of things, literally, like scientifically, how do you become happy? Um, and it breaks it down into like his thesis, which is kind of a philosophy, and then like breaking down. So it's a fantastic book.
I'm gonna look into that book. I actually haven't heard of
It's a
it, so
great book. Yeah,
maybe give it.
he was a UVA professor,
Oh,
and then
really?
now he's an NYU professor, and he's gotten very big. He's always on podcasts. He's written several other books. It's a great book. Great book.
Great, great recommendations. Those are
Yeah.
awesome. I think the Nassim Taleb books are quite complicated for college students.
Yeah.
They're quite scientific. I have read a few of them and I've really enjoyed them. My favorite one being the idea of the black swan and how common
Yeah.
they actually are. I was like,
Yeah.
this is really interesting.
It was just a completely different way to think about the world. That
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It challenges your point of view.
Yeah.
And then Zero to One was one of my favorite books that I read in the beginning when I started IX. It
Yeah.
it was also quite a mind blowing way of thinking. I mean, Peter Thiel is an interesting guy, and I highly
He
recommend.
certainly is. Yeah.
Yeah, if you have a chance and you have some time, definitely pick up that
It's
book
a
and
light
read it.
read too. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
not.
it's a light read. It's a light
Yeah.
read.
There's some
Um,
pictures in
yeah, there's a couple of pictures.
it.
Okay, and so what is it like living in New York? So for someone who wants to come to New York and live there, who's never been there before, what are your favorite parts about it and what do you find challenging?
I love New York. I'm from New York, so I'm biased. And I've been here. So I grew up in the city, and I went away to school, and then I've been here the last 5 years. Um, I think it's the most like. I think it's the most like it. Everything works. If you want to get anything at any time of the day, you can get it. Like the system works. It's the most like functional, easy place to live in that sense. Um, and yeah, I think it's the best place. I think everybody should, I think everybody at some point in their youth should move to a big city like New York or London or whatever. If you're from a small town, um, that is, I hold that very dearly to myself because one, you grow as a person and you get exposed to people from all over the place, but you end up with
Mm.
this big network of friends, and then you walk away with all these friends that you made while you were young in New York. Um, and of course dating, I mean, it's probably the best place to be single.
Yeah,
And then it's where careers are. I think that
epicenter.
might change with
Yeah,
the work from home, but it's kind of like all the ingredients of life for someone in their 20s starting it. They're all there in the city. um, I love it. I love it. But now I know it in and out, so now I'm kind of ready to shake things
yeah.
up and do something new. So I think we'll see what I do next. But
I love living there. The energy is pretty electric. I found the winters pretty challenging because it gets dark late and dark early, and
you're
sometimes
not
you
used
feel
to
like
that.
you're just going
Yeah.
to work in the dark, leaving in the dark.
I weirdly
I did get
found small town winters to be more depressing because it's like it's all dead. Like in
yeah.
college, I don't know. Like New York is still New York. It's still completely live. All the restaurant, the people, it's all there. You know. Yeah, winter's gonna be a little tough.
Yeah, yeah, that is true though. There's still a great energy, even though it's winter. But I guess when you're from Cape Town, South Africa, it's a bit of a shock to the system,
Yeah, that's true.
We come from this beautiful weather all the
The
time.
downside is we don't have the outdoors. That's kind of the downside.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I
Don't go to
struggled with actually in New York. Is like
yeah.
I'd go to Central Park, and I was like, it's not quite the same as
No,
the
no, it's
mountains.
not Table Mountain. No.
No, it's not the Hammer Mountain. So yeah, quick gear shift. There's a lot of hype around AI, obviously, and how it's going to impact careers in the future. What is your view on that? And how can young people sort of like deal with or embrace this technology to benefit them?
So I think it's kind of a Pandora's box whereby it's going to do a lot of incredible things, but it's
Mm,
also going to create some issues. So my view is that we should really understand those issues and monitor them and not be blindsided by them. I think those issues are um, essentially the way I view AI is you're outsourcing brain power from your brain to another hard drive, and your brain is a muscle, so if you don't use it, you lose it. And so I think we're gonna have atrophy in a lot of ways. Why write when it can write for you? Then human beings are not going to know how to write anymore. So I think we're going to see like that really concerns me. But I also think it's going to contribute to income inequality,
mm,
which is also really concerns me. Um, so I have like views on it, but in terms of reality is it's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. It's coming like a freight train. So embrace it and learn how to use it. I use it every day. I use ChatGPT every single day for work. Yeah, just start using it for sure. Uh,
So that's a good point. You
yeah,
use it every day for work, and I think that's kind of the point I wanted to get across. If you're a
yeah,
student, understand that the working world is now embracing AI as part of
yes,
daily process,
yeah.
pretty much to speed up things. That's what it feels like for me. Is you know how to analyze data faster, how to write things quicker. It's kind of like putting a car in fifth gear and really cruising.
It's incredible.
Um,
It's incredible. I can
yeah,
tell it.
blows my mind. Blows my
It blows
mind.
my it, I don't, it blows my mind, but you have to use it. You have to embrace it because everyone else is, and it's a freight train that's coming. I can say, hey, can you give me a list of 10 companies that are of this size that would be interested in buying this company, um, or in this demographic or whatever it may be in seconds. I've got my list right there, and it's
Yeah.
really accurate. It's the same. It's what you would get from hours of research. It's what you get from looking at PitchBook. Um, so that's incredible. Or you could say, what would be the rationale for this company to partner up with this company? And it'll give you a pretty
Mm,
good, it'll pretty give you a really good answer. Um, or you can say, write me a business description of this company XYZ, and then you want to edit it. But I mean, just those three things are pretty, that's pretty incredible. So I like
yeah,
those are three things I use it for every day.
yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, so I think start learning. I think there's one thing to learn how to use it, but like if you're young, 18, 19, 20, like actually understand how it works. That will also, I think, set you apart. Like you walk into an interview and you're like, oh, yeah, I actually understand how AI does what it does. Like, what is a
Yeah.
large language module, model? And then like you
NLP.
kind of, yeah, yeah, you kind of like understand how it works. I think that's a good thing to learn. Um, all right. So I think we're coming to the end of our episode. We've already gone through 50 minutes, if you can believe it. I just think it goes quite fast.
We can keep going too.
Yeah, we can keep going. We can keep
Yeah.
going. I did get some feedback from some students that more than an hour is like a long time for them, and I get that because
Yeah.
people are busy and attention spans are not that long. But I think for a college student,
Yeah.
this hour is extremely valuable. But maybe we can just close off just to talk a little bit more about your future, your vision for yourself. Touch a little bit more on, your ambitions to buy, build, sell companies. Where do you want to be in 10 years' time? Like, what is the ideal
Yeah.
vision for
So I
yourself?
think I've always been an ambitious kid and a hardworking kid, and I always, I think my generation grew up looking at least my demographic, my generation grew up looking at like people like Elon Musk or Steve Jobs or whatever, and so I had that kind of stuff in my head at a young age. Um, but yeah, so in terms of my life, I think my dream one day would be to, I definitely want to be financially independent. I understand that the world is expensive and getting increasingly expensive. Um, and so it's important that I that I think it's important. I think it's a man's job to make a lot of money, or enough money to live in this crazy world. So that's kind of the main priority. I would love to. I mean, I want to follow my dreams and follow my childhood dreams and build companies, and do that. But I don't think I'm there yet. Financially, I'm not there yet because I mean you have to have some savings, but also intellectually, you have to get there and know feel like you have the right idea and you have the right experience and you know how to do it and you're in a place where you can actually do it. Which realistically I'm not right now, so it does not make sense to do that at this stage of my life. In terms of specifically my life, uh, I'm 28. My job is remote. I'm not in a serious relationship. I'm not starting a business. Um, so I see that as an opportunity that I need to take to go travel. So I'm giving up this lease of this great apartment with all my friends in New York, downtown. It's amazing, but I've done that for like 5 years now. And so I'm going to give up my lease, take my laptop to go, save half my money because I'm approaching 30 and I want a nest egg. I need a nest egg, and spend the other half on Airbnbs around the world. Because I think, yeah, it's
That
no
is
brainer.
that is perfect. You should
No
come
brainer.
spend 3 months in Cape Town,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we've
yeah.
got a, we've got a
Give me a
great
couch
office
for
for
free. Yeah,
you. Well, what's nice is
yeah,
it's so cheap. It's so cheap here.
yeah.
If you're
It
spending
really
dollars,
is. Yeah,
yeah, there's a great community here. I mean, it's actually a good idea. We should definitely chat about that if you're keen to do that.
yeah. I mean, yeah. So, that's what I'm. So yeah, I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to stick with my job for the next couple of years because I have bounced around. If you look at my resume, I've got a bunch of different things on it. So I think in my case, someone might look at it and say, "Oh, you can't stay a job for more than a year. You're going to leave me in a year." So I think
Yeah,
for that reason, I should stay where I am for more than a
yeah.
year,
So,
a couple of years, I think. So I'm not planning on switching jobs. Like my goal is to do a great job and get promoted. I have to pass a bunch of these SIE FINRA tests, um, save up money, enjoy the world, and then figure out what I want to do next after 2 years.
yeah, it's a good plan. It's a good plan.
And
I
then by
think
that point, I'll be like 31, and I'll be in a very good place to do whatever I want to do. I think so, and I'll
yeah.
have gotten all the fun out of my system that you want to get out of your system when you're young, because you're not going to be able to do that as soon
Yeah.
as you
So
start.
I think yeah, it's cool for college students to know that, generally in finance, the first, between the age of 22 and 30 is pretty challenging. You're going to go through ups and downs. You're going to experience some jobs you like, some you don't. You're going to have to be persistent. You're going to have to dig deep, learn a lot, find the right niche that works for you. And then, from there, you can kind of start to create real freedom and amazing opportunity in your life. It is tough. A lot of people don't make it through that stage. They're like, no, finance isn't for me. I don't want to do this. But I think after 30s, it really opens up an incredible amount of opportunity for you.
Yeah, I think so too. Although I'm probably gonna have to keep reskilling and learning things. I mean,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
have to learn AI.
absolutely.
Probably gonna have to remember how to code. I'm sure at some point, but
Yeah.
um, so
Well, awesome.
future
Wick,
is dynamic and bright.
thank you so much for your time today, Wick. I really, really
Yeah,
enjoyed that conversation. Yeah, I'll add in a kind of a LinkedIn link for students who want to reach out to you. Our audience isn't that big right now, but it'll grow as students
I think it'll
realize
be a
the
lot
value.
bigger once I've been on the podcast.
What do you?
Great to reconnect with you, and yeah, I really enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, let's stay in touch for sure. Thanks, Wick.
Absolutely. Okay,
Cheers.
ciao.
And that's a wrap. What an amazing episode. I hope you all enjoyed it. Please don't forget to go onto the Spotify link, like and subscribe to the podcast, maybe leave a review. And if you want to see the video, you can go to the YouTube channel and watch it over there. But the best part of all is the newsletter. So every week we send out a newsletter, the Career Coach newsletter. This will give you access to additional information, show notes, tutorials, book reviews. So I highly recommend that you sign up and subscribe to the newsletter. And as always, feel free to get in touch with me on LinkedIn if you have any questions. And see you soon on the next episode.